my bright news today. This is Moses Uvere, and he is my daughter's youth pastor in middle school. Awesome guy, great story. I knew I had to interview you, so I'm so glad you said yes.
Basically, my story starts off not even in America. You know, my family's from Nigeria. I'm the oldest of 6. And I'm the first from my family, from my lineage, from my bloodline to actually be born in America. And I'm actually the very, very first. So that's why my parents named me Moses, because they were like, well, we got a plan, he's got to do something, you know, because we made it to America type of deal. And so with that, there were some challenges for my family, because my family ain't from here. So, and you know, it was hard for my family to really connect with American culture. I remember growing up hearing my dad say things like, if Americans eat pizza, we're gonna eat pizza. If Americans skateboard, we're gonna skateboard. And I remember my dad telling me that we are going to do as the Romans do. But even though they told us that, and me and my siblings really embodied that, we started to grow up with this like dual cultural stuff in us, where at home we were authentically from our tribe, but then when we leave our home, we have to kind of like turn it on and be more American. So that met with some challenges for my family and my dad, because my dad didn't know how to turn on and off being not Nigerian and not American. He had to like, he was always in a season of like assimilation and asking questions and having to learn how to be an American. And honestly wasn't given the freedom to just be himself, because people would hear his accent and automatically would think a way about him, or they see the way he dressed and think a way about him. So that lived in our home often, of this we need to fit in but we don't fit in type of thing.
Did that create an identity crisis for you and your sister, do you feel like?
Yeah, definitely. We struggled with believing who we actually are, because when we were with our friends, we're one way, and when we're at home, we're another. And now I know people naturally do that. Like when you get with your parents, you're gonna say things with your parents that you won't say in front of your friends. We all naturally do that, but it was very different for us. And yeah, that caused us to have to go through a longer path to figure out who are we really. As a result though, through all of that tension, my parents got divorced when I was 10. And so my dad had to go to Nigeria to solidify the divorce. On his way back, he ended up going to jail. And so then my mom gets word of my dad going to jail. She freaks out. She puts me and all my siblings in a foster home. So I was in like a boys' home. My sister was in like a girls' home, that kind of thing. And so that was when I experienced the world for what it was, because I didn't have anybody around me except literally me and my brother. And it just broke something in me to learn how to like survive without my people.
And you were 10?
Yeah. And so yeah, that changed me, made me angry, bitter, and I lived my life just with a chip on my shoulder, always ready to fight, always ready to defend myself, always ready to protect my brother. And my brother was gay, and so I was always having to think about who's gonna mess with my brother because he's gay. So I was always in a defensive, more offensive. Like I was always ready to like fight or protect or something like that. So during that time when my dad went to jail, so in our culture, when you marry someone, you have to pay what is called like a bridal price to marry that person. So my dad had to like give like land and like cattle and stuff to her family. So when he went back to Nigeria, he had to go and retrieve those things back. It's like that's kind of the traditional thing. And it's really shameful to do that in our customs. So that was the reason why he went there. On his way back though, him going to jail, he ended up getting out of jail. He has this experience where he experiences God while he's in jail, and really believes that he met with God in jail. He came back, got us out of foster home, my man was completely different, totally different cat. He used to be really reserved and kind of quiet, but he was like really loud and expressive, and was always wanting us to read and always encouraging us to like dive into like the interpersonal stuff, and in teaching us like breathing techniques and meditation. He was always talking about that stuff. And we were like, you know what I'm saying, like 12, 13 years old, and always pushing us to be more spiritual. So that's what led me to eventually giving my life to God. I didn't do it until I was 21. During that time, got in trouble, got in fights, broke into convenience stores. There was a point in time where we were so poor, so broke, that I had to break into convenience stores to feed me and my siblings. There was a point in time where, like we would steal things and have to sell them for money, and my mom was commissioning us to do those things, because she didn't know how to survive in America. We didn't know how to survive in America, so we literally did what we thought was necessary.
You had like a shittier choice.
Yeah, for sure. And so now my dad gets his newfound faith. He's inspiring us to live better. Tensions are rising for my mom. I'm living with my mom during the week, my dad on the weekends. Boiling point hits, and my mom decides to leave and doesn't come back. And so we end up moving in with our dad. We move into the hood, but it was a different experience. We came out of one hood into a different hood, and we were more focused on being better people. My dad was leading us that way. Several years go by, we try to go find my mom, we ask people around, and when she left, I was probably in 8th grade. I was in 8th grade going into 9th grade when she left. And so that was the last time I saw her. So I'm 34 now, I was probably like 13. So that was the last time I saw her at that point. But that didn't stop my dad from asking better and more of us. He was like, I know your mom left, it sucks, but you're gonna have to become resilient. You're gonna have to look at life through these lenses and be better.
And you tell me you haven't seen her since?
Zero. I don't know where she's at.
Heard from her?
Nothing. I hear from her people, but I have not heard from her directly since I was in 8th grade. So that's why I lead middle schoolers now, because I think about that experience for me and being abandoned and not having her with me, and I'm wanting to just be a big homie to the little homies. And I mean, I got a lot of kids to care for, but my job is to make sure every kid feels loved, and I want them to specifically feel loved by me as their pastor, because of the position I hold. So. With that going down, I eventually give my life to God in college. I graduated from high school. I graduated in top 30% of my class. I don't know how I did that, but it happened. And then I ended up getting an academics.
No excuses, kids.
Yeah, it was wild. And then I ended up getting an academic scholarship to a local college. So I was going there for a while, but I was being challenged by my professors to explore different variations of the world. So it was shaking my beliefs, because I was trying to get my head around these Christian beliefs. I was trying to reconcile how different my dad was from when we were little to where he was at that point. And I was like, man, something happened to this man, so maybe there is a God, I don't know. So I was in that stage of my life just trying to figure out, is this real?